Hi, hello, welcome to my channel, and if you've been here before, then you probably know that I have a love of that monster catching simulator called Pokémon. What is Pokémon, I hear you not asking? Well, I'll tell you anyway. Pokémon is a juggernaut of a franchise. Created back in 1996, Pokémon saw its start with the flagship titles Pokémon Red and Green in Japan. As bizarre as it was on the surface, Pokémon became a hit overnight, both in Japan and internationally, including a 1998 release in the United States. Hey, that's where I live. Pokémon has reached unbelievable heights, spawning several televised anime series, multiple films, spin-off games, multiple manga series, and of course, tons of merchandise. This franchise of monster capturing and battling hardly needs any introduction, as it is not only a series of numerous accolades, but also one familiar with controversy. Pokémon has and will likely always be a household name for years to come, regardless of audience reception to the latest Pokémon games and Game Freak's questionable decisions. Look at this. A factor that's always remained with the franchise throughout the mainline entries, however, is, drumroll please, the concept of a rival. A rival is defined as a person or thing competing with another for the same objective for superiority in the same field or activity. Being a creature battle simulator made originally for kids, it makes sense that Game Freak would see fit to add some set of objectives to the original Red and Green games. This includes the completion of a Pokédex, defeating all of the gym leaders, and becoming a Pokémon Master. To that end, of course, it's a no-brainer that they would add an in-game character who serves as an additional, little nudge to push you forward in that direction. That character being your rival. The rival shares a tangible goal with the player as they progress through the region of Kanto, always managing to remain a step ahead and challenging them at random times over their journey. This leads up to a climactic battle at the Indigo Pokemon League where your rival has managed to defeat the Elite Four mere moments before you have. This makes the desire to win against your rival even stronger, and even makes it more satisfying when you manage to overcome him. Huzzah! Victory over the rival at the apex of the league is the catharsis that the player deserves after a hard-fought journey. But that catharsis doesn't just come from doing it alone. It's a culmination of everything that makes the rival of Kanto your rival. He starts at the same place as you, Helltown. He's the same age as you. Picks the starter stronger than yours directly after you pick yours. Antagonizes you at every go-around, and always manages to stay one step ahead of you. Heck, it's even possible to lose your first fight to him, which makes it sting all the more when he walks past you following the battle. Everything about the Gen 1 rival was meant to agitate the player and build a desire to defeat him whenever he shows up. I mean, just look at his smug little face and all of his battle poses. If the taunter, you know it, definitely teabag you online. There wasn't much to him as a character, however, but you can't fault the Gen 1 games too much for this. This was their first go-around with Pokémon games, of course. The rival didn't need to be too deep. Rather, he just needed to be there ultimately to tie together the final goal of achieving the League Champion title, as well as finally putting him in his place in a larger-than-life battle. Now you might be thinking, Pyro, why did you basically just tell us everything about the Gen 1 rival, like something straight out of a Pokémon guidebook? Would you please stop rambling, and get to whatever point you're trying to make? Well, if you read the title of the video, then you already know what this video is about overall, smarty pants. Don't be rude. Anyway, all of that preamble was merely to lay the groundwork on what I believe made the original rival such a great driving force in the first games. That, however, does not mean that the Gen 1 rival is my favorite by any stretch. If you know me, which many of you don't, then you'd know that I like to overanalyze things and think way too much about everything. That is to say, I really love narratively driven stories with a clear purpose on what they want to do, or at least are good enough at passing off that they know how to do so. That's why I can say that while I do love the Team Rocket story arc of the Gen 1 games and their Gen 3 remakes, I cannot say that I enjoy the Team Rocket subplot of Gen 2 and its Gen 4 remakes. I also really love when characters are written well and can intertwine with the story that they're interacting with. The Gen 1 rival was not intertwined with the Team Rocket plotline aside from that random appearance in Silph Co. Why are you here? But because the Gen 1 plot focused so much on your adventure through the region to conquer the gyms, it also managed to naturally thread together the Rocket plot, your involvement, as well as your rival. Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket, was also the 8th gym leader of Kanto, operating in the shadows and leaving his gym abandoned when he wasn't there. The player has faced Giovanni more than once at this point, and though he is at his strongest in his gym, the player still beats him. Yet, who would have happened to have beaten Giovanni before the player even got there? Well, the Gen 1 rival, of course. This not only continues to cement that the rival is always ahead of the player, but it also cements him directly above Giovanni, someone that the story considers a notable threat. The rival naturally slots into an ever-growing powerhouse throughout the story, as he always pushes ahead of any challenge that the player will be facing after him. And as the story goes on, you can even see his team growing stronger. Like, it starts out rather simple, he has his starter, the first bird, Pidgey, and then, an Abra and a Rattata. But as you go on, he quickly builds a full team, and he's ready to smack you down, getting some of the most powerful Pokemon throughout Gen 1, like Gyarados, Arcanine, Executor, Alakazam. Just naturally good Pokemon. Depending on what your starter was, he will fill out the slots with a powerhouse from Kanto. And I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, the simple nature of the Gen 1 story always actively builds up to the final battle of the Pokemon League. Even if it's not always the focus, the battle between the player and the rival was the only way that story could end. Going forward, however, the Pokemon games began to go deeper into the stories that they crafted, as well as increasing stakes, which meant that many characters who appeared in those games began to grow deeper as well. We didn't have just the simple, I'm here to beat you at your own shtick, type of rival, We got deeper characters. We go from a simple story where major antagonists are mobsters who just want to make money in order to take over the world, to stories like nihilistic Virgil wanting to make a new world where emotion doesn't exist anymore because he thinks it would be more efficient, or French Vegeta wanting to nuke the world and every living thing in it because blah blah, humanity is the disease and only my cult of personality is allowed to enjoy the beautiful, untainted world that I shall build upon the mountain of corpses. Ah, please feel bad for me because I'm crying for the Pokemon that will die. That's not to say that these games don't have fascinating characters, and heck, even though I clowned on Cynthia and Cynthia, that's not to say that these games don't have fascinating characters, and heck, even though I clowned on Cyrus and Lysander just a moment ago, it doesn't mean that I don't find them to be fascinating in their own ways. It's just that sometimes it can get to be a bit much for me. The expansion of the story means that we get more time with major characters, which means more time getting to know a world and the characters in it. It's always a good thing, right? I mean, we start seeing this as early as Gen 2, where we have a rival who's more aggressive than the Gen 1 rival, and always has more going on in the background, compared to you, who's just going about a gym badge journey because Professor Elm probably suggested it to you, and stumbling into the events of the story. This does, however, leave Gen 2 rival open to more criticism, as there is more to call him on in question, Why is he invested in constantly battling me if he's very much against Team Rocket? Why do we never see him attack Team Rocket? What is his goal and how does he plan to go about it? As much as I do love the Gen 2 rival, Silver, and even more so in his Gen 4 appearance, the added focus of the story in this generation often leads to the disservice on his part, despite how interesting and entertaining I think he can be. Also, I mean, he's a bit of a jerk. Okay, wished me. With everything I've said here, I want to make it clear where I stand with each rival. Spoiler alert, though I do have these characters ranked and could provide reasoning for all of them, I'm not likely to go fully in-depth with all of them in this video. That's not the purpose of this really, it's just to discuss what I think's going on with the rivals, and what could probably be done to make them better, or what we can do going forward in the Pokemon series. The only thing that I can really verify in this is that this list you're going to see in this video in general is my opinion, and mine alone. If you agree with any of the stuff I say, then that's cool, I'm glad you do. And if you don't, I understand that as well. I've come to notice that I have more than a few differing opinions than a lot of people on a lot of things. Cynthia! I can also explain that the ranking of these rivals come from my feelings about the characters, any arcs that they might go through, their contributions to the story, their teams, and how it felt to me to interact with them as characters. Pretty subjective stuff. For a lot of people, I know that they're only interested in the challenge that a rival can bring to them, which is valid, even if I don't necessarily agree with the sentiment. Everyone wants something different, and pleasing everyone would not only be impossible, but also a fool's task, which is why I can say for certainty that more than a few of my choices will be met with disagreement, or just the shrugs of a shoulder, Anyway, without further ado, here's my ranking of the rivals. Drum roll, please! Yeah, look at that there. Isn't that a lovely tier list? So just looking at the list, I'm sure there are some choices that you can understand and others that you can't. As I said, I'm not going to spend the whole video speaking about that in depth, about why everyone is here and, what they're doing and everything. But I do really want to pull a few of these and discuss them a little bit, as they pertain to my personal belief on what makes a good rival a bad rival, or what made them special enough to stand out to me. Okay, starting off first, I know this is a very controversial choice, especially where he's placed, but I like Hop, and it's perfectly understandable if you don't like him either as a character or as a rival. I understand that, that's fine. But like I said, for me, he's placed where he is because I built this both from a team standpoint and as a character within the story. Hop has a character arc that sees him starting in the place of absolute optimism and becoming the future champion, into accepting that he does not have to try so hard to follow the path his brother took. Hop is unfortunately one of the cases of a friendly rival who is a little too friendly, We see that with a couple of other characters. They often feel like they're meandering. But what I like about Hop, or one of the things I like about him, is that he's very driven. He knows what he wants. It's not like the case with characters like Shauna or Bianca, where they are your friendly, quotes, rivals, but they don't really know what they want to do. They kind of just want to see the world, which, again, in the world of Pokemon, valid. But it often leads them kind of up a creek without a paddle. They're not very interesting, which is a shame, really, because I like both Shauna and Bianca. And, I think it's more interesting that even though I like Hop, I'll be the first to confess that I hated how they handled the initiation of his arc. Making the waste of Maripool that is Bede be the one to initiate Hop's arc is both annoying and needless. Bede has no connection to Hop, nor does he have a connection to Leon, so this random stranger telling Hop that he'd bring down Leon's good name just didn't sit right to me. I mean, we can't even say that Hop's never lost a battle before this point. Hop has lost to us before, and I'm sure Hop has struggled on his journey before meeting Bede, so either it was like, it just makes no sense that Bede would be the one to do this to him. I mean, Bede isn't even that strong, really. He's a monotype. How good can he be as a monotype? I would have been more receptive to the arc if Hop naturally just came to the conclusion that he wasn't scaling well against us as we went through more of the journey. It naturally would just lead to him getting doubts about himself, especially since we started on the same day, same town, both being given Pokemon from the champion, his brother. In a sense, like a lot of people were saying with How in Generation 7, we are the rival in that case. And, even though he's our rival, it could work for him as a character. I mean, it basically would just have to be him acknowledging outright that we are starting to be better than him, and that being the vessel for his change. At the very least, Bede being a wanker gets Hop to diversify his team for a couple of battles, which I think that's pretty cool. Gets him to shift around team members, see a couple of unique teams that we hadn't seen at that point, and different Pokemon. I don't think we have a rival that varies their team in that manner. I mean, aside from Blue, who switches it up once, shifting around his Pokemon and based on what starter you get. I know Barry does that too. But yeah, I thought it was neat, and I do like the team that he ultimately ends up with, although the only concession I have there is that if Hop wanted to keep an electric type, I definitely would have liked to have seen a Toxel stay there instead of Pincurchin, so that it could evolve into a Toxtricity. I think that'd be pretty cool, and the Toxtricity is an amazing Pokemon. But, beggars can't be choosers. Also, he gets the opposite box legendary, which I think is a really cool decision for the de facto rival of the game. This one feels weird to me. For years since Gen 5 released, I never really considered N a rival. Now I know that makes no sense as we battle him multiple times throughout the game like you would a rival, but for years I just didn't, or maybe I couldn't. I think ultimately it came down to how I viewed rivals as characters who were following the same path as you. Normally the rival is someone who's also challenging the gyms and is roughly the same age as the protagonist, so when this Dr. Doolittle pretty boy came onto the scene, I wasn't very receptive to him. In many ways I probably still am not. It wasn't just due to the fact that he was somewhat blind to the evil going on behind his back, even though Getis and the sages hardly attempted to hide it, but maybe it was also due to how easy I found him each time we battled. I wouldn't understand it or accept the fact, but later on, I really came on to find that, the reason he had so many weak Pokemon and had a different team each time was because he was catching Pokemon in nearby routes and then releasing them after the battles. That's a neat bit of character and something that I never really got. Like, when I was younger, I just couldn't stand it. He was too weak. I didn't think it was interesting. I always had to kind of shift around my strategy whenever I battled him because he always had different Pokemon. But now I see that that's a good bit of character for N, and if we didn't have the animation of Gen 2 where you always obviously have to throw in a Pokeball, I can really believe that they would have given N a special animation where he's just pointing the Pokemon into battle rather than throwing out a Pokeball. I'd love if they ever made Gen 5 remakes. I'd like to see that be a detail. I think it will work great for N. But this also makes the final battle against N in the castle even more special. Those are the Pokemon that he trusts the most in the world, as well as the legendary dragon that chose him as its hero. Were it not for the fact that the cartoon villain Getis exists, I would say that the battle against N would serve as the perfect finale for a game, with the perfect final boss fight. Wally is firmly in the category of, I see what they were doing here, but I don't think he actually sticks the landing well. Wally starts as a sick kid in Petalburg City that is moving to Verdanturf due to an unknown illness, but before he goes, Norman, our dad, loans him a Pokemon in order to aid Wally with catching his own first Pokemon. Great, right? From there we encounter Wally once more in Mauville City, where he's battled for the first time, before having his big climactic showdown in the exit of Victory Road in Oras, complete with a unique, and great, in my opinion, battle theme. The problem with this is that Wally just kinda comes out of nowhere, especially with it being that he shows up at the battle for Victory Road compared to normal rivals who appeared either at the Pokemon League like Barry or Blue, or just at the end of the cave like Silver. There's no indication that Wally would be here, nor should he be, given that he hardly qualifies as a rival. You only battle him twice, mandatory for the story mode, Mauville and then at the end of the Victory Road. But fun fact, did you know that in Oras specifically, if you check the certified trainer statue after clearing Mount Chimney, following the battle against Maxier Archie, you can actually find Wally's name in Waterwitch town. It's a nice bit of subtle foreshadowing that while you're participating in the story and cleaning up the mess of crazy eco-terrorists, Wally's collecting the rest of the badges throughout the region. You can even go back to the gyms prior, those being Rustboro, Dewford, and Mauville, and find that Wally's names are there. I think that's pretty cool. As far as I can tell, it's not the case in the original Gen 3 games, and I think it was a good subtle decision. However, the subtlety doesn't exactly make Wally feel like more of a rival. I think if they wanted to accomplish that in full, they would need to pepper a few more battles with Wally throughout Mauville and Victory Road. I think it would be easy enough to do, like giving Wally battle outside of the Petalburg gym, as this is where the protagonist is set to go right after his battle with Flannery, a battle around Fort Tree City maybe, another battle at or around Mount Pyre, and maybe rounded out at the Battle of Victory Road. It might feel like one battle too many to accomplish the point that I'm trying to get, and if need be, I can cut maybe the one around Fort Tree City, as opposed to, Mount Pyre. Either one, it doesn't really matter. But I feel like it would at least remedy the issue in a small part. It makes Wally more visible in the story, And if Wally's more visible, then We are watching him grow stronger, fill out his team, become more prepared. We get to meet Wally at his weakest, and throughout the journey of battling him, we'd be able to see him grow stronger, ultimately being a character who deserves to meet us at the end of Victory Road, in that beautiful backdrop with that beautiful music. Okay, hands up, full honesty. While I am the guy who's more than willing to give a break to characters who are just trying their best, I can't let Trace slide. Trace is the rival replacement for Blue in Generations 1 and 3, and he's a very poor man's Blue. Like, I normally don't mind the friendly rivals so long as they're interesting or have good teams, but Trace is an affront to both. And the fact that his team is kind of meh, it's fine. I mean, it basically hits all the notes that Gen 1 Blue hits in, Pokemon Red and Green. But, weaker. And his personality isn't very interesting either. The best moment he has, in my opinion, revolves around the events at Lavender Town, with the Cubone, which he later adopts onto his team. Which I like. I thought that was cool. I'm really glad that he kept it. Battling Trace, however, never felt like much of an accomplishment to me. I always felt more like a checklist that my mind ran through based on memories of fighting Blue. Again, I have to state that I am not a Blue fanboy, but I can't deny that Blue pushed for growth and story progression in a way that other rivals just can't accomplish. I'm not sure if this is symptomatic of Let's Go's approach to difficulty or what, but I think that these games definitely miss the marks in regard to the rival. If you haven't realized it by this point, this is all just my opinion on everything, so I hope you've been taking all of that with a grain of salt. Otherwise, you're likely to have high blood pressure at this point, and if that is indeed the case, please get proper medication and stop watching this video. If that's not the case, then I'd like to reiterate that all of this is just what I think could work for future Pokemon games. To make a successful rival, I think there are a couple of things that Game Freak could do in order to make rivals more palatable. Number 1, bringing the focus back to a single rival rather than splitting the focus with another character or characters, as Game Freak seems to struggle with that little bit of aspect there. Examples I have are the Kalos Rivals and the Galar Rivals. There are too many, and more often than not, 2 of them plus seem to be just wasted filler spots. I'm looking at you, Trevor and Tierno, as well as you, Marty and Bede. 2. Tying the rivals properly into the story, or at least having them show up around plot-relevant areas, which is more frequently helps cement not only how memorable they are, but also helps the player not forget that they'll be present throughout the game's journey. I made a point of mentioning Blue during the events of Silph. I hate that he's there. It makes no sense. He's not helping anyone. He's just there, waiting to be a little dickhead. But it's been years and I will never forget Blue being there. Because he's just there to ambush you. Point 3. Finally, and think making them formidable is something worth doing. The best rivals should be the one that constantly challenges the player to think, or seek out greater Pokemon in order to defeat them whenever they battle. Not only should the rival have gained powerful Pokemon, but they should have a good variety of Pokemon in order to avoid mono-type sweeps. Again, looking at you, Bede and Marty, you suck! Could Pokemon ever be without a rival character? Sure, it's been done before with spin-off games, and those worked well enough for those games. Would it be a better franchise without the inclusion of a rival? No, I don't think so. The Pokemon series has changed and remained the same in many ways, but if there's one way I hope it strengthens itself, I hope that the rivals see improvement and become as memorable as Blue has remained throughout the years. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time, my faithful knights. Hey, that was a fun little video that we did, right? Yeah, of course. This was something that I've had on the back burner for a while, so much so that news of the Sinnoh remakes have been made, and I would have talked about that if they hadn't, said that it's pretty much going to be a 1-to-1 remake for the Switch. I'm fine with that. I think it'd be pretty cool. If they're not changing anything, then Barry's probably going to be the same, which is cool, because I like Barry. It took me till the year 2020 to realize a lot of people don't like Barry, but again, that doesn't really matter. I hope they're good games. Anyway, thanks for listening to me, especially this last bit, rambling. Anyway, yeah, if you enjoyed this video or have something to say in regards to my decisions, my thoughts, opinions, then please leave a comment down below. If you'll want to hear more discussion-based Pokemon videos, or, Digimon, which I plan to do soon. I already got a video idea written for that, Dragon Ball, Kingdom Hearts, any of that kind of stuff, then please subscribe, hit the bell, anything you want, or not. Maybe you'll find another video of mine and recommend it one day. Either way, bye-bye, have a great day!